Winnipeg. I am so happy to have all of you here today to listen to and speak with and learn from Chance, who is a wonderful Two-Spirit Cree person from here in Winnipeg, sharing a lot of knowledge about their own experiences as a Two-Spirit person and some takeaways that I think will be really important for all of us. To hear. So I don't want to get into Chance's bio too much because I know you're going to be speaking about it in a moment, but I'm really thankful to have you here and to share some of your knowledge and understanding. So I'll pass it on to you, Chance, and thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Lucy, and thanks for that introduction. Katamiskat na ani wagumaganak chance Paupanekis Disnikasun, Kinosew Sipi Winnipeg, Newegan. Hello, everybody. My name is Chance. My government name is Chance Paupanekis. I proudly come from the Kinosew Sipi Cree Nation, otherwise known as Norway House in Treaty 5 territory. Currently live in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and I do a lot of activism on the side with respect to 2S LGBTQIA plus initiatives, MMIW G2S, and so on and so forth. And I'm so happy to finally be here with you all today. I know I had canceled once already, and I apologize. But again, I'm very happy to be here. I just want to make a note that some of the things that I'm going to be talking about in today's presentation can be a little bit triggering. So if at any point in time you feel the need to leave, please feel free to do so. I won't feel disrespected. I just wanted to give that forewarning. So let's get right into it. I'm just going to share my screen here. We were practicing earlier to make sure that everything went smoothly, but let's just watch everything mess up as well. Okay, there we go. Can everybody see that?
Yes, we can see it. Thanks.
And just because we only have an hour with each other, if you could kindly write your questions down and save them till the end, or put them in the chat and I'll address them at the end. That would be great. I also want to make a disclaimer that a lot of the knowledge I'm sharing today is a personal perspective on what it means to be Two-Spirit. And I just wanted to add that. And it's also a perspective coming from a Cree person. I'm not Anishinaabe or Dakota or Dene or Métis. So the perspectives that I'll be sharing, most of them, there's one that is Anishinaabe, but most of them are Cree. So I just wanted to show you our beautiful, I guess, First Nation, Indigenous, our Indigenous pride flag that we have. I love it. It's cute. Before we get into things, I kind of want to tell you a little bit about myself and my journey when it comes to, like I said, what people call coming out. So again, I'm Status First Nation from the Kinosew Sipi Cree Nation. I grew up there until I was 6. My sister, who had cerebral palsy at the time, she's now passed on to the spirit world, required adequate access to healthcare, so we had moved to Winnipeg. I'm a baptized Catholic, and I say that just because I want people to have nuance into who I am and how my journey has progressed in the past, 10, 15 years. My paternal grandparents went to residential school, and my maternal grandparents did not. And I've been openly Two-Spirit, or what I thought was bisexual at the time, since I was 18 years old. So before I also get into kind of like the actual nuances of the complexities and realities of Two-Spiritedness, I want to talk about the definitions. So a lot of these definitions are from literal Merriam-Webster. You can Google them. So Two-Spirit, it's an Indigenous term utilized to express one's gender, sexuality, one's gender and or sexuality. I'm going to make it small there. Lesbian, a cisgendered woman who is sexually attracted to other cisgendered women. Gay man is a cisgendered man who is sexually attracted to other cisgendered men. The term cisgendered, let's use it loosely here. They're not always cisgender. They can be transgender as well, and still identify as gay or lesbian. Bisexual, a man or woman who is sexually attracted to both men and women. Transgender, a man or woman who has transitioned mentally and or physically from a man to a woman, MTF, or a woman to a man, female to male, FTM. See, it's giving me trouble now. Queer, so of, relating to, or characterized by sexual or romantic attraction to members of one's own sex. Questioning, someone who is questioning their sexual or gender identity. Intersex, the condition of either having both male and female gonadal tissue in one individual, or of having the gonads of one sex and external genitalia that is of the other sex or is ambiguous. And then asexual is not having sexual feelings towards others at all. So not experiencing sexual desire or attraction to anybody. Cisgender is of, relating to, or being a person whose gender identity corresponds with the sex the person was identified as having at birth. Gender fluid, someone whose gender isn't always the same. So one day someone could identify as a man and another day they could identify as a woman. So gender fluid. Gender. What is gender? The behavioral, cultural, and psychological traits typically associated with one's sex and sexuality, expression of sexual receptivity or interest. So what is two-spiritedness? And I'm very honored to have a very instrumental player in the two-spirit movement here in Winnipeg and beyond, Albert McLeod, who was, again, instrumental in coining the term at the 1990 International Gay and Lesbian Conference in Winnipeg. I'm really honored that Albert's here. I love his work, and I'm so happy that I'm so grateful for the work that Albert does within the community. And it's a term that's meant to encapsulate the ceremonial roles and significance of two-spirit peoples. It's a term that can be utilized to signify one's gender or sexuality or both. So for example, a transgender man can identify as two-spirit, but so can a lesbian woman. And it is a term that is meant for Indigenous peoples, and I put in quotations so far, because of the whole pretendianism and everything like that, as it comes from a more spiritual and ethical purview rather than an ideological one. Now I wanted to just stop my screen quickly and share a video with you all. This video, to me, does a good job at encapsulating the definition of two-spiritedness. Can everybody see that? Lucy, can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so I'm not going to play the whole video. I'm going to play about 5 minutes of it, but this is a really great resource.
All right, let me just read it really quick. Two-spirit, one more time. Though the label has only been used since the 90s, the concept of the two-spirit is something Indigenous groups have identified with for centuries. But what does two-spirit actually mean, and where does it come from? So what is two-spirit? It's an umbrella term that bridges Indigenous and Western understandings of gender and sexuality. You may recognize it as the two that sometimes appears on the end of LGBTQ2. There are many definitions and understandings of two-spirit, and each is nation-specific. The term was intentionally introduced by Native people with the goal of finding common ground and helping educate about traditional teachings in a contemporary context. The Two-Spirit Society of Denver offers the following definition. Two-spirit refers to another gender role believed to be common among most, if not all, First Peoples of Turtle Island, North America, one that had a proper and accepted place within Native societies. This acceptance was rooted in the spiritual teachings that say all life is sacred. So how did the term two-spirit first come about? In 1990, in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, at the 3rd annual Native American Gay and Lesbian Gathering, the term two-spirit was proposed and affirmed by consensus. The word was a potential solution to what Native scholars and activists called the problem of naming, or making the many different sexual and gender identities that fall under the two-spirit umbrella legible across Native and non-Native cultures alike. For example, to illustrate the diversity of meanings that two-spirit contains, consider the following. In Lakota, the word winkte means to be as a woman and refers to two-souled Lakota people who transgress boundaries of gender from what may be considered male to female. In Dene, nadlehe means those who transform and refers to one of 4 separate genders: masculine, feminine, masculine, masculine, feminine, masculine, and feminine, feminine. Each gender has its own word in the Diné language. And those are just two nation-specific examples. There are so many more. Each nation's understanding of gender and sexual diversity is different and grounded in specific spiritual beliefs. Although all nations don't have a concept of two-spirit people, across those Indigenous nations that do, two-spirit people were historically held in high regard and often considered sacred or divine, holding important positions like matchmakers, medicine people, or warriors on the front lines of battle. Many two-spirit people perform roles traditionally assigned to both men and women. Witwa, a famous two-spirit of the Zuni or Ihamana, was known to take part in masculine tribal matters and feminine tribal matters, and was even sent as an official Zuni delegate to Washington, D.C. Part of the reason Two-Spirit was adopted at the 1990 conference was because much of the written record on the Indigenous nations of North America begins with European contact. For instance, the writings of Jesuit priests from the 1600s contain references to berdaches, which means kept boy in French, to refer to those who embodied both male and female genders. These writings often focus negatively on perceived cross-dressing among the Anishinaabe. The term is not only inaccurate in that it projects a European understanding of gender, but is widely considered pejorative by natives. Two-spirit was an attempt at self-determination across linguistic barriers, because the existing language, foreign and imposed violently on the Indigenous peoples of North America, was both offensive and deeply colonial in its gaze. European colonizers imposed homophobia, rigid binary gender roles, and misogyny under the guise of civilizing Indigenous people through the Christian tradition in residential schools and beyond. As a result, Indigenous people were robbed not only of their land, but of their spiritual traditions and way of life regarding two-spirit people. Many nations came to forbid and punish two-spirit unions and self-expression. As recently as 2004, Kathy Reynolds and Dawn McKinley, two Cherokee women in Tulsa, Oklahoma, attempted to marry under tribal law, setting off a convoluted legal battle with serious political and social implications. The two were thrust into the spotlight against their wishes and became instant public symbols of the battle for two-spirit rights under tribal law. The Cherokee tribe is the second largest in the US. Although they were granted the right to marry, the decision to issue them a marriage license was soon challenged and led to a tribal law declaring that a union was to be between a man and a woman. Eventually, in 2016, the law was overturned. By that time, a wider cultural shift had taken place, both outside of and within the Cherokee Nation.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing. That's when it kind of starts to talk about the nuances of gender in the United States, which of course is important, but I want to talk more about how it applies here in Canada. So I'm going to jump back into our PowerPoint here. So yeah, two-spirit peoples are and were everything. We were midwives and doulas. We were ceremonial protectors. We were powerful medicine men and women. We were leaders. One time, one of my mentors said that the way that I view two-spirit knowledge keepers and healers is that they're the emergency room of sickness. So back in the day when, and I say when I mean back in the day, I mean prior to contact, people would come to, a medicine man or a woman with sickness, and if the medicine man or woman wasn't able to, fix or heal them, they would send them to the two-spirit knowledge holders, and they would eventually have, because they had access to connecting to both feminine and masculine plants. So that's really important. In fact, in front of me here, I have a feminine plant. Oh no, I have the thing on, but this is juniper. In Cree, it's called Miigwech Bimigwatik, and it is a woman's medicine, and I work with the medicine. And my auntie said that, because you're two-spirit, you can do that. So, but again, all teachings are different. I'm referring to my Cree teachings. We were warriors, we were teachers, like all of you. Not saying that you're all two-spirit. We were teachers, hunters, trappers, and fishermen, fisher people. So I made a game that I was gonna play, but I think it's actually, I tried it on Zoom before and it didn't really work. So how it works is the presenter, and you feel free to use this with your classroom, with your as an icebreaker, whatever, feel free to use this game. If you want it, you can email me after and I can kind of write it down for you. But basically, the presenter will ask a group of participants about a historical or a fictitious aspect of 2S plus life, history, reality, etc. Members of the group call out gay if they believe the fact is true, and members of the group call out nay if they believe it is untrue. The reason why we're using the word gay and nay is to destigmatize the word gay because it's used in such a negative light, right? So, but a potential question could be gay or nay. The term two-spirit was coined in 1990 in Winnipeg, Manitoba. That's when folks would yell out gay, or if they believe nay, Another potential fact or fiction is the term two-spirit can also be used by non-Indigenous peoples. Nay, I don't think it should be. I don't think they can, but that's just my personal view. Just showing you kind of questions that you can ask students. Two-spirit peoples have been an integral part of First Nation ways of life since time immemorial. That's gay. So again, see how we're using the word gay. It's less, oh, you're so gay, that's so gay. It's rather we're actually using it in a positive way, meaning yes. Two-spirit peoples haven't always had the right to Western marriage in Canada, so that's gay. We haven't always had that right. That's, I believe it was in the, actually, I'm not even going to give a date because I don't know. There are numerous terms in different First Nation languages to describe to us LGBTQI plus peoples. That's gay. We just heard it in the video. In Cree, I know of 3 or 4 terms that are used in ceremony to refer to us plus people. Gay or nay two-spirit peoples are included within the 231 calls to justice in the final report of the National Inquiry into MMIWG. That's gay. There's 32 that pertain specifically to two-spirit peoples. And again, using this game, you're also teaching people about a lot of these facts that people should know about. Gay or nay, chest binding is often a physiological aspect of transitioning for transgender men. That's gay. So that's just a game. This is kind of funny. And I like to add in a funny one at the end. So at birth, there's a blood test done to determine one's sexual orientation. Nay, of course not. Of course, there's no blood test done. And then, yeah, questions and statements like that to educate folks and destigmatize the word gay. So that game is called Gay or Nay. So where did I learn all of, other than the historical kind of Western aspect of two-spiritedness, where did I learn this? So I have 4 teachers in specific. Madeline Gamblin Walker is one of them. I believe there might be a question, or wait. Oh yeah, awesome. It's good to know, Marika. Thank you for that. So Madeline Gamblin Walker, a lot of you may know her. She's a medicine woman from my community. She adopted me. I call her auntie. She's the one who teaches me about all the women's medicine ceremonies. She lets me attend the ceremony. She lets me attend the ceremonies. She's really the one who kind of persuaded me that, that ceremony can be a safe space for two-spirit people. However, though, I just want to make a note. On the other hand, it can be unsafe. Ceremony still has aspect of the patriarchy and toxic masculinity embedded deep within the ceremonies. No disrespect to any lodge keeper or ceremony goer out there, but it's just a fact. So it's really important for me that I get to learn from a woman so that I can, two-eyed seeing and see things in a different light. I believe there's another question. Yes, lateral violence as well is very prominent in our ceremonies. Another teacher of mine is Jeff Westezagut. He's my male teacher, mentor, lodge keeper. Jeff teaches me a lot about the language and the medicine. And I'm going to tell a story about Jeff in the coming slides, but Jeff is amazing. I love Jeff. Gordy Walker, that's Madeline's husband and the Sundance chief back home in Norrie House. And then Ed Age, I call him Nistes, my older brother. He's my teacher, my mentor, and a lodge keeper. And all without these four individuals, I know very little. I still know very little, but I wouldn't know anything without these individuals. So I always want to acknowledge where I get my knowledge from. So again, the role of ceremony in the lives of Two-Spirit people. So we are protectors of ceremony. Jeff had a dream one time, and I really wish I remembered the word, but he had a dream that he was sitting in a sand. There was sand all over him, and he was sitting on his butt on the ground. And out of the sand came this woman, this old elderly woman, and came right up to his face. And it was an ancestor. And she had said to him that Two-Spirit peoples are called this. And I'm gonna find that word and I'm gonna send it to Lucy. But it starts with an A. It's a really long word, but it basically means protectors of ceremony. It's one of our integral roles as First Nation Two-Spirit peoples is we are there to protect the ceremony and ensure their continuity. As you know, as Two-Spirit peoples, like I said, we can see both worlds. I'll share a teaching with you right now that was given to me by Carl Stone, who's also a knowledge keeper from Broken Head. So he gave me a teaching one time. In front of me, I have two eagle feathers. One is a really large, it's the tip of the eagle, or the eagle feather, the eagle wing, and then one's the tail feather. He said that this represents the importance of men and women working together in ceremony. And I said, how? And he said, the tip of the eagle feather, you have to look at the eagle wing as the source of the eagle's strength. Without the eagle wing, you can't fly. But without the feather or the tail, it will fly in circles. It doesn't know where to go. That's what the eagle uses to guide its body through the air. So he said that the tail feather are the women, the wing feathers are the men, and they need both. The eagle needs both of them to function properly. So that's just one, I guess, two-spirit or gender teaching that I wanted to share with you all. Another thing, or I guess I was at Sundance one time and Jeff told me in a dream, he said that two-spirit men were placed here to teach women how to be mothers again. And two-spirit women were placed here to teach men how to be fathers again. I never really understood the full context of that, but for some reason it was so impactful to me. And then, of course, there's the argument in our communities, berry pickers and hunters, right? We're both, I think everybody can and should be both. You'll have a greater life if you have berries and moose meat, I promise you that. Depending on your lodge keeper, you may have the option to sit with your gender of choice. I'm thankful that a lot of the four people that I named when I go to ceremony, they let me sit wherever. When I Sundance for the first year, I offered my tobacco and pledged, and Ed said to me, do you want to dance with the men or the women? And it was something I was totally taken aback by because I had just assumed, I'll dance with the men. So I said, you know what, I'll dance with the men this year. Next year, I'll dance with the women. So that's how I'm going to do it until I'm done. And like I said, most lodges I've been to have men on one side and women on the other side. This is really important. I always ask women first if it's okay with them, if I sit with them. I've never been told no, but I ask them out of respect because I understand that a lot of women go to ceremony to heal from trauma and harm caused by men. So I don't want to put them in an unsafe situation or an uncomfortable situation in a space where they're supposed to be protected and safe. So, Jeff always tells me you have to form a strong connection in Cree. It's called tabagutawin to the plants, to the female and the masculine and the feminine plants. Form those connections, learn them, dream about them, ask your helpers to guide you, ask your helpers to help you understand them. And I do. I told Jeff's dream of old woman and Ed giving me choice. For those of you who've had the honor of meeting Madeline Gamblin Walker, she is the sweetest thing ever. She's just so sweet. She's very motherly, very grandmotherly. And at ceremonies, she's always there to make you feel comfortable and to love you and to guide you. And I just love her so much. She lets me attend full moon ceremonies. And she allows me to participate in all aspects of ceremony. And they're always telling me to work with both men and women's medicines. And they honor and they love me. And, you know, you get to choose, we get the freedom of choice to choose your ceremony, family. So if you've chosen one that is, you know, good for you, I'm so proud of you and I'm so happy for you. I wanted to show you some of these pictures. The first one was talked about. That's a South American two-spirit woman who participated in a lot of aspects of male government life, so on and so forth. The middle picture is a picture of a two-spirit couple, and the one on the right is kind of more recent, but it's a two-spirit woman. I wanted to, you know, show pictures of their beautiful brown skin because we need to see people who look like us in order to feel empowered. And they look like us. These are our ancestors right here. So, of course, the real native presentation, I do a slide on dreams, but there is this one time, and I like to use humor throughout my presentation, so please don't take what I say too seriously. But anyways, my Uncle Jeff, this is when he formally adopted me. He said, I had a dream of you, my nephew. Or he didn't say nephew, he said, I had a dream of you. He said, I was being chased in God's lake. He described everything to me. I was being chased in God's lake by a truck full of men. It was a red truck and they had guns. They were trying to kill him. They were trying to shoot him. So he said he saw me in the field, in God's lake, and he said I was setting up some kind of contraption to film something. And what I had taken from that, it was like a film set, you know. And so he comes running to me and he yells my name and immediately start running toward him. And I come in between him and that truck. And he said, I knew those men. You knew them. You were trying to negotiate with them. You were trying to say, stop what you're doing. This is a relative of mine. And they raised their guns, and out of my jacket, I pulled an eagle feather or an eagle fan out, a metaguan they call it. And I said, I'm warning you, don't take one step further. And that one man stepped forward and I went like this with my metaguan, and a strike of lightning came from the ground, or it came from the sky and disintegrated that vehicle. And then he said, we went to a different part of the dream. And in that dream, there was a huge saputawan. And I have a picture of a saputawan, and I'll show you later on. And he said there is an elder in there sitting, or he was sitting on the floor. You, your uncle, and your cousin were all two-spirit. We were sitting at the opposite end of the saputawan in lawn chairs. And this elder was sitting on the floor. And Jess said, hey, one of you get up right now. When an elder is standing, you should not be sitting. And so my Uncle Roy got up and that elder said, no, 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 I want to sit here on the floor. And then he said, this is why. I want to explain to you why two-spirit people were sent to this earth. Eh? And he said, they were sent here to protect our ceremonies, to help bridge the understanding between men and women, to help them understand that we are so powerful when we act together. And with current settler colonial implementations like domestic violence and other family destroying aspects, we need to go back to our ceremonies so that we can rekindle that spirit of our families. Eh? You know, these dreamers and these dreams, a lot of them are two-spirit and they're extremely powerful. In Cree, spirit or the words spirit or dream helper is called bawagan. My spirit helpers are tattooed on my body. I have a deer, a blue jay, and a fox, a magiswak, quigiswak, and tigak. Those are my nipawaganak, my helpers. They guide me spiritually. They come to me in dreams and they give me information like the information I'm presenting to you all today. And then when you begin Minopamatsuin, in Cree, that means the good life, in Ojibwe, it's Minopamatsuin. Your dream helpers will present themselves to you either in dreams, in ceremony, or in real life. So I mentioned the Saputawan. This is a Saputawan beautiful lodge. This is in our ceremonial grounds in Kinosew Sipi. But it's basically like 3 teepees all in one. And it's a learning lodge. We learn about life in there. It's a learning lodge. If you ever get the chance to go into one and sit in one, it's just so serene. When you sit in there and you hear the leaves rustling against the hide, it's just like, this is how our ancestors used to live, and it's so peaceful. So that's a Saputoan, a learning lodge. So two-spiritedness and the education system. So as educators, your role in society is extremely important. I've had teachers who have literally saved my life. You know, so it's really important that you understand your importance. And then understanding too that oftentimes it's the system itself that fails to teach about the true histories and the realities of not only Two-Spirit peoples, but other oppressed groups as well. I don't ever remember learning about Two-Spirit peoples in high school, junior high school, or elementary. I knew what, being lesbian was. I knew what gay was. I didn't really know what trans was. I definitely knew nothing about what Two-Spirit was. Meanwhile, that's who I am. So it's extremely important that the education system and educators are equipping their students with the tools that they need to understand who they are spiritually, you know. Again, as individual change makers, you can bring forth change in your own classrooms by fostering environments of inclusivity, equity, safety, and justice for Indigenous students and staff. I always think of teachers as our society's greatest advocates. We need teachers. They're always on the front lines advocating for what we need in life and what we need in society. So you play really important roles. So I won't talk a lot about this, but I wanted to touch on this. But policies, practices, and procedures as teachers are extremely important in shaping and reshaping the current narrative that is situated around 2S LGBTQI plus history, realities, and life. So change can happen at any and every level. It can happen at the highest level. The Ministry of Education can mandate that 2S LGBTQI history becomes part of the curricula throughout Manitoba. And now that we have an Indigenous premier, hopefully implementations like this start to happen more. At the division level, superintendents can appoint or hire directors of DEI to initiate and continue the work of fostering a safer education system. At the classroom level, teachers can educate themselves on the true history and reality of Two-Spirit people. How can you ensure safety within the classroom? Let's just talk about that as educators. So first of all, strongly opposing anti-2S plus rhetoric from both staff and students. So it's a hypothetical situation here. We all know that, mostly young boys in elementary or junior high school and high school like to use the word faggot. That's a word that I used to use before I knew that I was gay. I didn't know how impactful and how hurtful it was. Had my teachers stepped in and said, don't call him that, there's a better chance that I would have had a better high school career. Maybe I would have had better grades. Maybe I would have became a doctor. Maybe I would have done something. I was bullied throughout my, being Indigenous and being Two-Spirit. So those intersectionalities, which I'll talk about more, need to be talked about more. perhaps consider, I know you teachers, you spend a lot of your own money on things that, the schools and the public school system should pay for, but purchasing a pride flag for your classroom would foster more inclusivity. And it doesn't have to be put up only during June, during Pride Month. You can have it up all year round if you want. Educate your EAs on anti-oppression training and values when it comes to 2S LGBTQI plus students and staff. That's really important. I don't know how it works in Winnipeg, but back home, EAs in Norrie House, back home, EAs and teachers are developed professionally separately. So we need to have the same training on how to properly, speak to kids, talk to kids, and stuff like that. So ask students and EAs if they have any preferred pronouns and give them the opportunity to tell you this in private. So, let's be honest, there are certain cases where, it's obvious certain people are, gay or lesbian or trans. But it's still respectful to, ask them their pronouns and to honor that too, and advocate for your students' preferred pronouns so that other students respect and refer to students by what they would like to be called. If my teachers, like I said, if my teachers were more educated and aware on what two-spiritedness, on what gayness is, I feel like I would have had a better high school career and not only high school, but junior high school as well. Talked earlier about the intersectionality of two-spiritedness. For those of you who don't know what intersectionality is, it's when you have more than one identity that is considered a minority group. So whether you're Indigenous and gay, trans and Black, disabled and, Filipino, those are intersecting identities. And again, individuals oftentimes can have more than one intersecting identity, especially in a diverse city like Winnipeg. And this can make it more difficult for them to navigate this society in a productive and fair way. So if you have an Indigenous, like me, for example, I not only had to deal with homophobes, but I had to deal with racists as well, and racist homophobes, you know? And then an Afro-Indigenous trans disabled woman would deal with far more obstacles in her life than I do. Does that make sense? And I even said it right there, right? And and another example would be an Afro-Indigenous trans woman with the same, if not more credentials than a Caucasian woman not getting hired, irrespective of whether she is more qualified for the job or not. So that's a case where intersecting identities can cause economic instability. And it is vital that educators understand the implications of intersectionality on their students and the material they are distributing in their classrooms. So it's really important that you understand that. So moving forward, at the end of the day, public school educators, like I said, play a vital role in shaping and reshaping the socio-political, socioeconomic, and sociocultural climate of our world today. So you're integral to fostering spaces of inclusivity for students. Sometimes you might be a students only safe space. And oftentimes all it takes is just one compassionate teacher to make a world of difference in the life of a two-spirit child who might need that extra love and understanding to continue on. I wanted to add some literature resources for educators. I had a huge list of these, but I couldn't find them. But two of my most favorite are Billy Ray Belcourt, A Minor Chorus, and Making Love with the Land by Joshua Whitehead. The Making Love with the Land is probably more applicable and appropriate for high school students. But these two books are just, it changed my life, and they're completely, Josh and Billy are also my friends, and we have a picture together and they call us the Cree Three. So it's kind of cute, but I love them, and those books are great as well. Resources for 2S LGBTQI youth in Winnipeg. So there's the Native Youth Sexual Health Network, which is a online database that distributes facts and information about 2S plus resources. Moon Voices Inc. Focuses a lot on resources for women, but also gender diverse folks. Clinic, Mumway, Two Spirit Peoples of Manitoba, Two Spirits in Motion Society, and Dinaway. This is just a very small list of the resources in Winnipeg. And so that concludes, did I go over time? That concludes my presentation. I thank you all for attending. And now I'd like to open it up for any questions that you folks may have, or comments or concerns. Another thing too is if there's something you want to ask me that you'd prefer to ask privately, I'll write my email in the chat right now and you can email it to me and I can answer it that way.
Thank you so much for this chance. This is a wonderful presentation, and I think it'll be really impactful for teachers. And I really appreciated your sharing of like ensuring safety in the classroom and speaking about how, you know, you've had teachers that have saved your life. I think that's a really important thing for us to like always have in our minds when we're in these rooms with youth, that these can be life or death conversations, even when you don't really know it. And I also really appreciated the attention to the intersectionality as well, and how Two-Spirit people can have additional barriers as well. But I mean, even just as Two-Spirit people, speaking as one myself as well, like sometimes we're forgotten in conversations about queer issues, like LGBTQ plus issues, and then sometimes we're also forgotten in discussions about Indigenous issues. So I just wonder if you have anything to say about kind of like the importance of naming and speaking to and about Two-Spirit or Indigenous queer experiences, if you have anything to add to that.
I think it's completely vital to the fight that we're fighting in hopes of, achieving an equitable society. Our leaders are people in positions of power, not only teachers, nurses, doctors, lawyers, business people. Everybody needs to foster a mentality of acceptance, of inclusivity, of diversity, of justness, of fairness, so that we can create a better world and then that's always what it's about. And as teachers, you all know that it's about creating a better world for the ones who will come after us, opening more doors for them so that they can navigate this easier than we did as young people. So it's extremely important. It's extremely important to name and continue to educate people, everybody, Indigenous and non-Indigenous people, on what this topic is and how impactful it is to learn about it, because you could be saving lives, like you said.
Thanks so much, Chance. Does anyone here have a question or a comment for Chance? Can feel free to raise your hand or type into the chat. Or as you mentioned, you could reach out to him afterwards as well, if that's more comfortable for you.
And if you can't think of any right now, again, I typed my email in the chat. So if you want to, have a conversation after, I'm more than honored to do that for you. So, yeah.
I do have a question. I'm middle of eating supper, so I'm not going to turn my camera on. How do you deal with those people who are part of the church who have been brainwashed to believe that Two-Spirit people should not be part of the church itself? And I have family members who've turned their back on my daughter for that reason.
Mhm.
And it's really caused a lot of stress within our own family. So
Mhm.
I don't know any solution to that.
Mhm.
I can't do anything about the way they think and what they believe,
Mhm.
but it's really hurtful that it's within the family. Because according to how I've been raised, is that you love everybody. You don't judge people. Even though you might be part of the Catholic or Baptist church, it's actually the Baptist church. You still are not in a position to judge people. we're not supposed to do that, but they don't understand that. And I don't think I'll ever be able to change their minds about that.
Mhm.
So have you had any kind of dealings like that within your own family or the community?
It's a really important question, and I think it's really vital to understand that the driving force of Two-Spirit folks going underground and having to hide their identities is the church. I, thank you for pointing that out. But also, I think it's really important to foster conversation, because if we don't have conversation, and if there's no willingness to have conversation regarding anything, not just this, then how are we going to truly move forward as two parties? I used to work for the Circles for Reconciliation, where they work a lot with church groups, and they dissect, they undo, they unpack a lot of these conversations about two-spiritedness, about kind of postmodern indigeneity and settler colonialism. So as long as your daughter, and I'm sorry that your daughter and your family's having to go through this, as long as you stand strong by her and support her and love her, everything should be okay. I have been called into, communities and situations. The church is yet to have called me in. I can't see why. Why not? But I have mediated certain conversations between parties who just don't see eye to eye. So again, I'm just always going to go back to having that conversation. And sometimes there is no resolve. Sometimes, if that's what the church wants to perpetuate against you, your daughter, and people like her, that's their purview, then just move along. Because, like I said, sometimes there's no resolve. And I've learned that the hard way, that, as you said, people are stuck in their ways and they're old fashioned. A lot of them might be willing to learn, but we need to really focus our energy to where change can truly happen.
Yeah, I'm not, I just, thanks for the answer to that question. I know there is no easy fix for that, but these are a nephew and niece of mine who have supported my daughter for years and years, and then suddenly they found Jesus a year and a half ago, and now Jesus tells them that they can't accept her.
Mhm.
Which is really, how can you flip out like that from one stance to another, and really, even if you are part of the church, isn't it wrong to judge people? Isn't it wrong to make those judgments on people? I just don't understand that. Not understanding that, if they go back to the Bible and take a look at Jesus, Jesus accepted everybody, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, it bothers me, but I can't change them. So we've kind of just sort of drifted apart. So that's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've had to do that with family members as well. They just don't. I had a family member say to me, this is when I used to drink. I don't drink. It's been 4 years since I drank alcohol, but we were having, a couple one night, and she says to me, "Chance, are you gay?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." And she said, "Okay, well, I accept you, and I'm not one to choose to judge you on how you sin." So she basically said to me, "I love you, but what you're doing is a sin." So I distance myself from that person. I don't talk to her. And sometimes, and this is another thing that as a two-spirit Indigenous person, I think, again, intersecting identities is really crucial in helping sculpt your understanding around this. Sometimes you have to cut off toxic family members and friends, irrespective of the relation, because if someone's not good for you, then you can't have them in your life. And if you've already tried to make amends and there's no resolve, there's no resolution, then again, focus your energy on people who truly love you, and there are a lot out there. So
Thank you.
thank
Anyone else have a question?
Yeah, that was a really beautiful answer, Chance, 'cause I think it's really important to remember like so many queer folks, but specifically Two-Spirit and Indigenous queer people have that experience of having to, whether it's like parents or extended relatives. So I think that's a really common experience for lots of folks.
Yeah, thank you. And for those of you on the channel right now, if there's any kind of conversations like the one Renee had just brought forth, I love dissecting these kinds of things. So like my email is there. So if you have if you're encountering troubles with schools, with communities, please let me know. And I will try my best to give you all the resources and the information that you need to navigate that in a healthy way for you. So just want to offer that resource to folks here.
It's really generous of you. Thank you, Chance. Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
I think everybody wants to get out of the beautiful
Right?
weather now.
It's been too nice today, exactly.
Everybody's just looking outside, when the Chance gonna stop talking.
Exactly. And I hope you saw Marika's comment in the chat there about she's
I
making.
did.
Yeah, okay, great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Chance. We're so appreciative of you coming and sharing with us and sharing your knowledge and connecting with folks later on, as well as so generous. I think we'll be calling on you again to join in some other projects we have coming up too, because I really appreciate the work that you do and the way that you carry yourself in community as well. So yeah, just a big merci, miigwech. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Yeah, kinanaskimit na sagi tuk minuitsi tuk. Just love and help one another, everybody. Just wanted to say that. Love and help.